Hey! So I recorded this week's video in which I thanked Uncle Brad for providing the special beverage that made this week's video possible. And then he watched last week's video and informed me that while it was his idea to send the brew, it was actually his wife Kim whose superpower is sourcing beverages you've never heard of and may never see on a shelf, including today's drink and flavors of Mike's Hard Lemonade that are still in testing. So I want to make sure I thank both her and Uncle Brad for making this week's video possible. And because of that, there might be some subtle edits that have to happen in the video. I'm getting pretty good with my editing, so you might not notice, but see if you can pick up on them. All right, here we go. Hello everyone, and welcome to week 6. This week the Vikings have the Cardinals at home, and in my home, I have a very special treat. Viking blood. Or Viking blood, I suppose would probably be the proper way to pronounce it. I need to thank Uncle Brad, I guess as I'll call him, and Aunt Kim for sending this special treat to me to sample on one of these videos. It is a dansmjød, which is a Danish mead, a honey wine, and it says it is a Nordic honey wine with hibiscus and hops added, based on a recipe from about 1700. There's a bit of history on the back. I won't go into all of it, but I know they said the oldest known recipe for mead to be written down in the Nordic countries was in 1520. So it's an ancient drink. It does also mention that the oldest known example of fermenting honey was in India in 4,000 years ago, give or take. But this is a very interesting beverage. It is in like a heavy crock kind of clay material. It's imported from Denmark, and it's 19% alcohol by volume. I'm pretty excited. Let's pop it open. I can't crack it open. It does also say that it is best served in a wine glass, chilled, or in a porter wine glass with some fruit mixed in. I'm just going to go with just this for the sake of sampling. Ooh. This is already gorgeous. Look at that rich color. I mean, fittingly, or if it helps if I get any closer here. Fittingly, a rich honey color. You can smell kind of the floral notes, like the hibiscus, the other herbs that have been added to it. Let's give it a taste. This is dangerous. That's delicious. Thank you, Uncle Brad and Aunt Kim. That's great. So first, you get the sweetness of the honey, and you definitely can taste the alcohol. Not in a bad way. Just it's a strong, right off the bat, you get the alcohol and the kind of the honey, and then there's this floral taste, but not in a bad way. It's sweet, it's rich, it's aromatic, and then it kind of finishes with a little bit of alcohol burn, which with at 19% is, I was expecting a much more alcoholic kind of strength to it, but no, this is delicious all around, start to finish, and as I said, dangerous, because this could sneak right up on you and punch you in the back. I mean, you wouldn't know that's an alcohol by volume. Thank you again, Uncle Brad. This is, and Aunt Kim. It's, I mean, the label's cool, the bottle is cool, the flavor is great. What a cool treat. That's really awesome. I am going to put that down before I do any more harm. All right, on to today's game. As I said, the Vikings have the Cardinals at home. This is their first home game in 3 weeks. The last time they were at US Bank Stadium, that disaster with the Bills happened. So, of course, the Vikings are hoping to get back on the right track now. I believe, I should have checked this before I started recording, but I believe the Vikings are home 3 straight weeks now. This is their chance to get a leg up, to really get on a roll. Hopefully Dan Bailey has ironed out his kicking woes. Missed 2 to start the game against Philadelphia last week, but it closed out pretty nicely. It's an interesting matchup because the Vikings are passing at a higher rate than anybody else in the league. I believe 75% of the time they're passing because they can't get anything going on the ground, which I'm surprised to hear how many people say they're surprised by that, because coming into the season, the biggest concern was the offensive line. So it really shouldn't be a surprise that they can't get anything going on offense in terms of rushing. Passing's going great. The other issue is that Kirk Cousins is being pressured. I want to say the stats from the Eagles game were like 47%. Almost half of the time he steps back to pass, he's getting pressured, meaning there's someone forcing him out of the pocket, hitting him, sacking him, contacting him, making him change what he wants to do. That's not great. Your quarterback should have a little more time. But even with that, he's finding ways to put up just record-breaking numbers. Adam Thielen is now the, I want to say the first or second wide receiver or player to ever have 100 yards in all 5 games to start a season. I might be getting that wrong, but he broke some kind of record with just the passing. Against the Eagles' stout defense last week, Cousins put up 301 yards and a touchdown, which is going to be interesting coming into this week against the Cardinals because they have really no running defense to speak of. I think they're 30th in the league in rushing defense. They've allowed a ton of rushing yards, a ton of rushing touchdowns, but they have a pretty stout secondary, which helps them shut down the pass. So the Vikings, who have no rushing game and all the passing attack in the world, going up against the Cardinals, who have great passing defense and no rushing defense, it'll be interesting to see if the Vikings establish anything on the ground. Dalvin Cook is still questionable this week, and if he plays, I'd imagine they use him a lot on swing passes, screen passes, things that allow them to simulate a running game, a ground game, but don't require the offensive line to get all the blocking set up necessarily. Dalvin Cook, when he was playing, was getting hit in the backfield all the time. The offensive line is just not getting the kind of push it needs to get a true handoff running game established. So, last week against the Eagles, they used Stephon Diggs on a lot of screen passes that actually worked really well because Stephon Diggs was incredibly elusive. I'll be curious to see if they do that instead if Dalvin Cook is out. They've also been using the rookie Rock Thomas as an outlet. Latavius Murray was sharing snaps with him and Mike Boone. It'll be interesting to see who gets the snaps if Dalvin Cook is in. The Vikings did get their starting center from last year, Pat Elflein, back, but now they lost their tackle, Riley Reif, which probably won't help a lot. The Cardinals do have one stud defensive lineman in Chandler Jones, who's been an absolute game changer so far. Hopefully the Vikings can shut him down, but with that banged-up offensive line, who knows? On offense, the Cardinals are starting rookie quarterback Josh Allen, who has a pretty powerful arm and has completed on a lot of deep passes, especially connecting with the new rookie Christian Kirk. I think the Vikings secondary should be able to handle the passing attack. The big risk is going to be David Johnson, who 2 years ago was considered at the top of the league with Le'Veon Bell. Now Todd Gurley has moved up. Zeke Elliott's looking pretty promising. Saquon Barkley's kind of in that same mold of a guy who can run and catch and do it all. David Johnson has been terribly misused this year, and he's also behind an offensive line that's as porous or more porous than the Vikings' offensive line. So my heart goes out to him. He's an all-star, and he's just not getting any help. But he is the biggest threat the Vikings face this week on offense, I'm pretty sure. All told, I think the Vikings win this one. It's been a while since I predicted them for a win, but the fact that they went to Philadelphia, hung tough in that game, and got a victory out of it is encouraging. I hope they're trending in the right direction. I know, I think I said on the Week 1 preview that the offense was going to need some time to gel with Cousins being the new quarterback and the offensive line being banged up. I think that might be starting to happen, more than just like the crazy passing attack. Hopefully now, if they get Dalvin Cook back, if he plays, they'll be able to get some stuff going on the ground and have a more balanced attack. That being said, if all they do is pass and keep putting up crazy amounts of points that way, I don't care if they run or not. I would just like them to feel a little less guess. I don't know if I'm going to have a Week 7 video. I have not yet had a chance to go shopping for brews that I feel are worthy of this absolutely cut-rate video series of mine. I'll do some checking this weekend, and it'll be a surprise in week 7 if there's a video up. Until then, thank you one more time, Uncle Brad and Aunt Kim, for this delicious, delicious treat. And I saw on Facebook today that it was your birthday on Friday. So happy birthday. Here's to you. Skål filether. Go Vikings. And because it was your birthday, Brad, I hope your Packers do okay tomorrow.